and welcome everyone to a new episode of the Caring Support Podcast. Today we have another member of our team, the lovely Jen Logan, who is here to share her story with iron deficiency, as you can see in the title of this episode. And she will be speaking about how she found out, what it all means, how she's treating it. And hopefully this can be helpful for a lot of healthcare students out there who are feeling tired, and have no idea what's going on with their bodies. And this will be a great source of information for them. Obviously not medical, but from like a that it and it went. Welcome, Jen. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. First, I'll introduce myself. My name is Jen Logan, and I am part of the Caring Support team. So within Caring Support, I'm the VP of Product and Research. But today I know we've done lots of podcasts on Caring Support and so on and so forth. So I thought we would talk about iron deficiency, something that is now near and dear to my heart. Looking kind of at the stats, I thought it'd be really important for healthcare workers. I don't think it's any surprise that largely our healthcare system is propped up by women. And iron deficiency affects women disproportionately. So I think men, it's quite low. Like if you're a man, I think it's 3% chance of being iron deficient. But for women, it's 9% to have low levels of ferritin. And I will get into that, what ferritin is and hemoglobin and stuff like that. But first at the top, I will say I'm not a medical professional. This is all self-taught. This podcast is for entertainment purposes only. So consult a medical professional to seek medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. So I just wanted to let everybody know, not a healthcare professional. I rely on the professionals myself, but hopefully you get some useful information out of this. And if you do think you are iron deficient, then I would say talk to a medical expert professional, doctor, nurse practitioner, and seek advice. So with that out of the way,
let's get started. So do you want to go maybe a little bit more in depth about what you do here at Caring Support?
Yeah, sure. So first, Caring Support, when you're looking at features in the product, when you're looking at our roadmap for Caring Support and where the product should be heading, this is where I come in. So it's really looking at our long-term, short-term, medium-term vision, product features, and then looking at client feedback as well, or customer feedback, or healthcare worker feedback, student feedback, to keep advancing and improving our platform for our users.
Yes, absolutely. I love what you do. You're also a project manager, right? And you always come up with great ideas, so much experience. So it's very lovely to work with you.
Yes, thank you very much. Same with yourself. I know we see each other on a weekly basis in our marketing meeting in the morning when we're thinking of new ideas to bring to you, like this one.
That is correct. Anyway, so tell us a bit about, a lot about your journey with iron deficiency. How did you find out? What symptoms did you initially have?
Yeah, so for me, symptoms were like, I'll first say I didn't clue in, right? Like, I think I was iron deficient for a very, very long time. But being a mom, I have 2 kids. You're kind of told you're going to be really tired. Like, it's the new normal. And so for me, I took that to heart, right? Like, this is a new normal. Sometimes you don't get enough sleep, like your 8 hours of sleep. I eat well. Like I do have a lot of meat in my diet, lots of leafy green vegetables, nuts, dried fruit, which are all really high in iron. So I never put 2 and 2 together. It wasn't until I had a specific test, ferritin test. So there's 2 tests that you can take to indicate if you have low levels of iron or iron deficient or anemic. The first one, I think the go-to one is looking at your hemoglobin levels in your blood. And I think that's the most common one. But you can also look at your ferritin stores. And for me, it was that test that indicated that so my hemoglobin was quite low, but still normal. And that's, in your blood, your hemoglobin carries the oxygen, or like the oxygen around your body, and you need iron to make hemoglobin. But for me, it was really the ferritin levels were extremely low. So you can have low ferritin, but still kind of be okay. But mine was like very, very low. And so that's when my doctor who had ordered that test for me, and it came in, and I was like, oh, and I was registered online with Dynacare. So I could go in and look myself. I don't know, I'm a real nerd when it comes to that kind of stuff. And then I start Googling, I think, like we all do, to look at what is ferritin, what does it mean, how low is it? And then after a conversation with my doctor, he's like, no, it's really low. We're going to have to put you on iron supplements to boost that. To answer your question, when it comes to like my symptoms, when I look back, it was just being really tired. And as I said, I associated that with like having kids, 2 kids, COVID, just doing a lot, working full time, working on a startup as well. So, you just think, well, that's life, right? I'm just going to be tired for a while. Also, concentration was a big one for me. So I was finding, particularly during COVID, it got worse, which was probably with levels of stress as well. But sitting and concentrating at work was becoming really, really difficult. Even if I had sleep, even if like I had no distractions, and that I think was bothering me the most. And so you can have an association of symptoms with iron deficiency that's more like mental health symptoms, which are not as well known. So there's a link between like not being able to concentrate or feeling anxious, those types of symptoms that are now being linked with iron deficiencies as well. And I found, for me anyways, that was the most concerning. And so when I started to do my own research and look into that, I started to make that connection. And fair enough, when I went and like started taking high dose like iron supplements, and then eventually I have stomach issues, so iron is sometimes not stomach friendly. I got an iron infusion, so intravenous. They, put iron into, and a couple weeks after that, it was really like night and day for me. Like I'll give you an example. My kids would want to go to the park, and I would do it. You'd be like, "Yep, let's go," because that's what good moms do. But at the same time, there was like a lackluster about it. You're like, oh, I have to get off the couch. I have to go outside. I'm gonna take the dog with me. But now that gloss is back, which is really nice as well. I've been a runner my whole life, so I find part of my coping mechanism, if I do feel stressed or if I want to clear my head, would be to go for a run. And even that was becoming like really laborious, to the point where like, I just don't feel like doing it. And so for me, being iron deficient, wasn't quite anemic, really impacted me, I think, in a lot of areas of my life. And and I'm a real nerd too. Like, I just didn't make the association, which is why I thought it'd be important to talk about it, because I think women, when they have kids, you're just going to be tired, you'll get through it. But if there's an easy fix for 9% of women in the population, it's worth getting checked out, and it's worth getting the right test, which is getting that ferritin test done as well, alongside looking at your hemoglobin, which I think was missed. You did ask Laura about some of the other symptoms. So I did do my homework. So if it looks like I'm reading, I am.
No problem.
So other symptoms. So as I said, tiredness, lack of energy, short of breath, noticeable heartbeats. So heart palpitations, pale skin, headaches. You get ringing in your ear as well. Sometimes food can taste strange. Like these are things I never experienced. Like it was more like the concentration and the tiredness, feeling itchy, a sore tongue. I think this is when you're quite severely anemic, but hair loss. So if you're noticing more hair coming out, pica. Have you ever heard of pica, which is when you want to eat things that aren't food, like that concrete looks good, or feeling like dirt today. If you
Yeah.
start feeling like concrete really smells good all the time, which I've kind of had, you walking, go, that really smells good. That's because you're missing like minerals in your body, and like iron is one of those minerals. Um, so that's called pica. Finding it hard to swallow, painful open sores, ulcers. And as I said, there are now being links between mental health. So hard to concentrate, mood swings, irritability. Over time, it could add to anxiety and depression. And for me, I could certainly see like if you don't have enough energy to go running, and that's the way that you hold yourself together, or that's your go-to,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or you don't feel like you have enough energy to get off the couch and go for a walk, if that's your go-to or whatever it is, you can see that that can lead to depression or help lead to anxiety if you can no longer do the things, or you don't want to do the things because you don't feel like you have the energy to do that. So those are some of the symptoms of iron deficiency, whereas I think most people kind of just think tiredness and looking pale.
Right, but there's so much more. You were talking about that urge to eat things that are not food. I was thinking that's your body's survival mood kicking in. You know, that's like a basic instinct telling you that you need minerals. So yeah.
Yeah. Basically, like my mom was low in, I can't remember what mineral it was, but she was craving parsley all the time. And her doctor's like, "Oh, I bet you're low in this mineral." I can't remember what it was, but she'd be in the grocery store like, "I just want to eat all that parsley."
Oh my God.
But
Okay. So
yeah,
when you started treatment, how was that like? What kind of treatment did they recommend? You mentioned the IV part, but other than that, did you make any other lifestyle changes?
yeah, like there's a lot. So I, as my self nerdom has been declared, I like go to town. I'm like, I'm going to research what the iron rich food is. I'm going to research if there's anything that blocks iron absorption. My doctor did set me up with a nutritionist as well, so we had a good conversation. The first thing that the nurse practitioner offered was going on the pill. So I'm going to back it up just a bit. Women are more like, so you know where I'm going with this. Women are more likely, like as I said, 9% of women have low ferritin levels,
Mm-hmm.
indicating like iron deficiency. This is mainly linked. So iron deficiency usually happens through blood loss, right? So you can fill your bucket up, but if there's holes in that bucket and it's draining, right, that you're slowly going to becoming iron deficient. So one of the main things for women is like if you suffer from menorrhea, which is like heavy periods, which I do, lucky me, um, you can lose a lot of iron each month. Um, 2 pregnancies. So babies need iron. You get twice the volume of blood when you're pregnant. So you need more iron for that. Interestingly enough, when you give birth, that extra blood that you lose through childbirth, right, should help protect you against iron loss. But I did have two C-sections as well. So you lose twice the amount of blood through 2 C-sections. Um, and over time, you're just not, even if you're eating well, you can, like, and you're a health nut, you can be in the situation where you are not replenishing fast enough of what you're losing. And so for me, I just kind of thought, no, I'm really healthy. You know, I'm doing everything well, but I was just not filling that bucket up fast enough. And over time, from having my 2 kids and having heavy periods and having 2 C-sections, like the writing was on the wall. It wasn't like like, you know, I didn't have to go far to put 2 and 2 together and go, I know how I got here. So then the doctor will recommend, or in my case, the nurse practitioner recommended going on the pill. because it lessens your periods and helps with stemming the blood flow. For many, that might be a great option. For me, it wasn't. I don't like the hormones and like how I feel on it.
Yes.
So what else? There's other drugs you can go on to shorten your periods, but there's risks of blood clots, which I wasn't like too keen about, but it might be a great solution for some people. So what I did was I took iron supplements. Wasn't great for my stomach to do that continually, so I got an iron infusion. And now I take iron supplements like high dose when I am on my period.
Okay.
And research has showed if you take it every other night, like and double up, that it absorbs better and it's easier on your stomach. And so I usually do about 3 times of that. And I also have added, this might not be an option for most, I like liver. Right. But I know a lot of my husband just hates it. He's like, put the windows on and
So
the fan
chicken.
on. No, beef liver.
Oh,
But chicken liver would probably work too. But I'll eat that twice a week. And there's just a whole host of other minerals in there. And you get like everything you need from that. So I think now that I'm doing topping it up during my period with iron supplements and then also eating liver twice a week, it should be filling up that bucket more. But I will take like ferritin tests throughout the year, maybe every 3 months, just to make sure that yes, I am on the right path and what I'm doing is working. I was going to mention something else. Oh, yes. And other things so the non-absorbing, right? So what I didn't know or failed to know is that there are 2 things that can block absorption
mhm.
of iron into your body. One of them is dairy, right? And so I have limited how much dairy I would have or eating dairy when I'm having something that's high in iron, right? So if there is a Philly cheesesteak going and I wanted the iron from that, I might just take the cheese off. And the onions on the Philly cheesesteak would be great because vitamin C helps you absorb iron.
Yeah.
So also I limited the amount of coffee I would have. So cream and coffee is kind of like a double whammy. And the polyphenols in coffee, teas, green teas also help block or don't let you absorb the iron that you want. So for me, it's really about looking at your food, looking at what nutrients you're getting from your food, and doing the right timing for that. So I just think like if you're somebody who survives on coffee because you're really tired and you have 2 creams and it's kind of like a double-edged sword because like some people's go-to is cream coffee, and both those things can like
Yeah.
combined can like stop you absorbing what you need. So that for me was a big piece of the puzzle as well, is just being smart about what I'm eating when I'm eating it. I didn't want to give up coffee or like green tea and stuff like that. So I kind of have that in the morning. And if I was taking an iron supplement during my period, I would make sure that like the timing's right for that. There's no like polyphenols or no late night cheese eating, I guess.
Yeah, makes sense. Um, how have you been feeling after weeks of changing, making so many changes and introducing the supplements? Have you
Like,
noticed
oh
what changes?
yeah, big time. Like I said, it's the gloss. It's the gloss that came back for me. Like I no kids, we're going for a walk. And just realizing that like actually, although some people might be tired because their kids keep them up and kids are tiring, but I think I had like an extra weight and that's just been lifted. So it's like the gloss comes back to your life. And I was always quite a high energy person anyways. And I felt like that was just kind of taken away from me slowly. Like I think that the danger here is that it's not like all of a sudden you're iron deficient and one day you wake up and go, something's wrong, right? It's slowly emptying. So
And
yeah, you don't notice it. And
mhm.
then you have kids and you're like, well, this is just it. Like, this is what kids do. So for me, I think it's just like the gloss has come back and I can concentrate at work, which was that was really stressing me out. Right. And so like I would just spend a lot more time trying to do the things that I would need to do and pull my attention back to it. Um, so that one was big, and for me it did alleviate that. I will say, like during that, like there were other things, like we had COVID, full blown COVID going on. Not that COVID
Mhm.
has left, but I had my kids being homeschooled when my husband and I both worked remotely, and all the what should we do next kind of decisions to make. So there were added stresses in my life, but um, when you start taking the supplements and when I got my iron infusion, you could see that kind of veil coming down. And then you're like, oh, I got it. I know what it is now.
That's fantastic. I'm so glad that that happened. I think a lot of people will see this and think, oh, maybe I need iron. So one last thing. What is it that you want people to know out there? People that may not like going to the doctor as much, people that probably say, oh, I eat well, I'm good. Do you have anything to say?
Well, I would just say that, like, if you are feeling tired, if you have some things that you think, you know what, I have a heavy period, and like it's just worth getting checked. Like there is, unfortunately, you are looking at your blood, so there is a needle involved. So that might be a barrier to some people wanting to get checked, but it is definitely worth it. And I would say that getting both tests are really important, because if my doctor, and I think why I went under the radar for so long is, I know I lived in England for 10 years and I have my kids over there. And so they do check your blood. I think they were only looking for hemoglobin and they weren't looking for ferritin. So for some reason, my hemoglobin still stays within low normal ranges. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's been recommended for years, but I think I've been iron deficient for years. But my doctor here in Canada recommended getting a ferritin test. So he didn't like, that's just something that he does for, I think, all women. That's under his practice, which I really appreciated, because if that had not happened, I'd still be in the same position thinking this is just my lot in life. And as I said, I wanted to talk about this today because our healthcare system is propped up, the majority, by women who are probably overworked,
Mm-hmm.
gone through a pandemic. And if 9% of those women were suffering the way I was suffering, and they could fix that by taking iron supplements, adjusting what they eat or when they eat it, um, getting an iron transfusion, whatever they need, and they got, uh, and I guess they feel better.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think it's a worthwhile thing to look into. So I just thought I would spread the word that get a ferritin test along with your hemoglobin and see where you lie. And if you need more iron, it is definitely worth it.
Well, thank you so much. I think that all of us have learned a little bit more today about minerals and deficiencies and how they can affect you. And I thank you for sharing your story. It's personal but also very helpful. And I really for that, and I hope to have you back on the podcast, hopefully to talk about what your company as well, because I know that you
Excellent.
have interesting things to share in that regard.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Laura. It has been a pleasure.
Well, thank you, and I'll see you in the next time.
Excellent. Bye.